Okay, I'm going to solve this triangle using trigonometric functions, right? Start off with, I'm giving two sides of a triangle, right? And one thing I know about sides of a triangle, you have three different things with the right triangle. You have a hypotenuse, which is the long side. It has to be this guy, it's the longest side. Then you have an A side and a B side. It's kind of arbitrary which one you mark it, but for all practical reasons, I'm going to make this one A and I'm going to make this one B. Sometimes you'll see this one instead of the hypotenuse, we call this C, right? So you have C, A, and B. Another way it can be marked, right, just to clear this off and start all over, right, you would have this called the hypotenuse, just like before, except we're looking at one angle. I'm looking at X, that this is called the opposite side to the angle. And this right here is the adjacent side to the angle. So we write that adjacent, right? So let's examine this in detail, right? Once again, this is a process which it tends to do over and over again. So all we got to do is remember our little acronym, SOHCAHTOA. It tells us what to do. The sine of the angle is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. That's why you have over H. The cosine of the angle, right, is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And the last one is the tangent of the angle is going to be equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Okay? Look, SOH, SOH, CAH, CAH, and last one's TOA, TOA, right? So now we want to ask ourselves, what numbers fit this mode? Now, we only have two of the numbers. We have all three. You could solve for the angle with just two of them, right? We have the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which means it'd be 8 over 10, which equals 0.8. And how we do the next part of the function is fairly easy. You just go cosine to the -1. It's a function on your calculator. And you put 0.80, hit enter, and I'll do it real quick on mine. I got this little one here. It works perfectly fine. Second function, cosine 0.8, hit enter, boom. It gives me the number 36.86, 36.86 degrees, right? The only time you don't get this is if your calculator is not in degrees. There's a button at the top that says degrees, radians, and grams. Gradients, but you always want to be in degrees when you're doing these things for these kind of problems, okay? Now, to find the other one, you got to find the other side. To do that, you use the Pythagorean theorem. You're going to say C squared equals A squared plus B squared. C squared, we say, is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to put that 10 squared equals A squared, and I'm going to say this is A. Opposite is A. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to put A squared. Plus my B squared, in this case, it would be 8 squared. Now, we've been doing math like this. You can move something to the other side by just subtracting it. -8 squared, then I got to subtract 8 squared from this side. All right, let's bring this down, put a line here, put a line here. So now I have 10 squared minus 8 squared equals A squared, right? So this would be 100 minus 64 equals A squared. And guess what? 36 equals A squared. If I take the square root of if I take the square root of 36, I'll find out what A is. So the square root of 36, you could do this in your head, but you do it on a calculator, it's just 6. I'm going to circle that. So I know this side over here has to be 6. Okay? And if that's the case, I can finish my problem, right? I put 6 over 10 here, which is equal to 0.6. And I can put 6 divided by 8 over here, because that's the adjacent. And that one I'll do on my calculator, it's like 3/4, right? 6 divided by 8, 3/4, which is 0.75, okay? Now, the cool thing about this is that they're all going to give you the same number when you do the thing on your calculator, this operation, okay? So if I take my next one, I'm going to take the sine one. Sine to the -1 of 0.6 and I put equal. So I have to use second function sine 0.6, hit enter. Boom, I got the same number, 36.869, right? I say 87. Let me round that. It really should be 87, but we'll just go with it. The other one, I go tangent to the minus 1 of 0.75. See what I get. Second function tangent, 0.75, hit enter. I get the number, same number, 36.87 degrees, right? So this is the basic concept of trigs when you're using a triangle. They work on the right triangles. You can actually determine what the other angle is going to be at this point. We know what this is, 90, right? And we know that this angle over here is what? 36.87, okay? To find the other angle, all of them have to add up to 180. So we know that 180 minus 90 minus 36.87 is going to give me my third angle. So 180 minus 36.87 minus 90, okay, equals 53.13. 53.13. So this angle here must be 53.13. If you're really smart, which I'm assuming some of you are, you could have said, well, we know this is 90. This side has to add up to 92 because it's 180. So you just make it 90 minus this will give you the same answer. So that's the nuts and bolts on how to do this trig kind of problem. Hopefully this made sense to you, right? Watch it a couple times and look at it when you're doing your homework. It'll come out.